Okay, sorry for the technical difficulties. Here we go.
We shall rebel against the king.
We cannot betray the king.
But we will fight for our
We
freedom.
don't got no army. They will kill us.
It will be liberty or it will be death.
I made a Declaration of Independence. Who wants to sign it first?
I'm not going to sign it.
I'll sign it.
I shall sign it so big that the king will be able to read it.
And I want you guys to make a statue. Watch this. Make a statue. Perfect. Okay, but
That was.
Alright, so yeah. Alright, so now we have the Battle of Valley Forge, where the Americans had to deal with the harsh winters and survive through the British influence. So you guys have that forge, right? Alright, so you guys
we'll take it in.
Me and Jar are gonna do the British. Like you can ask them. What are you ready? You're gonna be Retreat.
So you said no.
There's like a veil. There's a black wrap on there. You guys can say that it's those that you are
They okay?
Yeah. So we have the French, the Americans, I'm sorry, who were the Americans again? Okay, so you're the general.
George, you said yes.
Okay. And then you guys will decide what's going to be next. Understand?
quickly, gentlemen. No. You guys have white hair. I know.
Gotta have something.
He's gonna keep that
No. You're gonna be general, right? So we're gonna be. Alright. You're gonna be the one that.
Oh, these guys are good.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
They're really good.
We're gonna do it.
Guys ready?
So this is what we're
Let's
gonna
go.
do.
Wait for us.
No, you're gonna say this is what we're gonna do to the Americans. Then you're gonna say attack. You're gonna say attack, and you're gonna say attack. So you gotta.
We need a high five.
We need a We're gonna be attacked. So that's what's gonna happen. You're gonna shoot. And then he shoots. You're gonna have to retreat. And then shoot all the way to the back. The back is So then I'm gonna. So
We
now
have the next,
I'm
we have the
gonna.
next event in the American Revolution.
No, you're gonna say attack.
Alright, so we have the battle of the
Guys, gotta watch the next one. I'll give you a few minutes if you need.
Alright, so now we're gonna just go take a second to go back to the Battle Valley Forge, where the Americans had to deal with the harsh winters while the British enjoyed the luxuries of the empire.
Guys, sit like you were before, on the ground. Who's at Valley Forge? Sit on the ground the way you are. Now face the audience. Face the audience. Face this way, don't face each other, otherwise we won't hear. Okay, ready?
Alright,
Action.
begin.
I have smallpox and no energy.
And I'm starving. I need food.
I have no shoes. Well, guys, don't worry. You guys will be able to,
Beat.
you guys will be able to beat the English if you have hope and grit. As long as you have hope and grit, you will be able to do anything that you want to do.
Okay. Anything else, guys?
Hello, Governor.
Hi, sir.
Would you like some water?
Sure.
Here you go. It's nice out here in Philadelphia.
Sure.
Would you like another one?
Sure.
Cheers, Governor.
Okay, now you guys go again.
When it's freezing in this temperature, you might as well die.
Look at the English. They have all the good things, and we have nothing.
Well, if you guys have hope, and
You win.
then you guys can win and have all of the good stuff that the English have.
George. Freeze. Guys get together, make a statue.
You have to move a little farther that way.
Get in a little closer. Okay.
Heads up, guys.
Chris, ask them if they know what each guy stands and then touch the guy.
Okay, yeah, so, here. What do you stand for? The English foreign somewhat, alright, and then,
I stand for George Washington, being overwhelmed by his soldiers and the Portuguese.
and then, without the shoes.
I'm playing as a soldier with disease of smallpox and freezing in the cold with no shoes.
Alright, and so you guys could see the harsh conditions that the Americans had to go through while the British enjoyed the luxuries of wine and comfort during the harsh winter of Valley Forge. Thank you
I said I don't give it to you tonight. On the sheet. The mustache.
Who's Jennifer Johnny's voice?
Sergeant back.
So you can, I wrote this is Rocky.
We need a song to start
This is Rocky talking about. This is band Chris, I have no idea. If you're done, this group should be sitting.
What's wrong with Kuwait? Not.
Exactly. I'm like, yo, why?
Yes? Yeah, okay. They're gonna say. I'm a girl. You know how you can do It's not backwards. You're gonna be like this. Yeah, both of you are gonna say this.
Alright, even hurts that much.
So we're gonna rush and then we're at time.
I don't think it was made that way. Okay? Oh, he's laughing. guys set up and let's go.
Alright guys, so that's three of them?
Guys,
Make sure you know where that student from that.
Excuse me everybody? Excuse me everybody?
you ready?
Alright guys, just so for the last event in the American Revolution, we had the Battle of Saratoga where the Americans triumphantly defeated the British, even though no one believed they could. And we're just going to take a look at exactly how that went back.
Mr. Dorito, I wonder if each person could, because this is the confusing one, say who they are before we start.
Okay, yeah, so whoever you guys are going to be acting as, just say it right before, and if you don't
Now
have
say it now, just so everybody knows.
Okay, so the Americans, alright, so we have the American troops here, we have the British right here, and then we have a French troop right out the side. Alright, so we have the Americans, the British, and the French, and begin.
British, make sure that everybody can see you guys here.
I'm not behind it.
Oh, are you hiding?
Yes. Okay, here we go. Camera, action.
Oh wait, this one was reached out to Americans.
What are we gonna do?
Gonna beat them.
Okay. How are we gonna do them?
Shoot them.
Attack!
Russia, we're getting high ground.
Okay, you guys are dead, huh?
You can't
Okay,
get
thanks, come on in.
So, my country and I made the decision that we shall fight with the Americans.
Why did you make that decision?
Because they won in the Battle of Saratoga.
Okay, you guys go. Excellent. Don't make a statue.
You can't.
Don't make a statue. Don't make a statue.
Make a statue.
Good choice. I'm done.
Make a statue, you guys are dead.
Alright guys, so let's
You look
start
like you're
with...
Wait, everybody pay attention.
Alright guys, so let's just take a look at exactly what's happening right now, so let's just start with...
Say one thing you think you would say if you were in the scene. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And then, what about you? What exactly happened to you, buddy?
I died.
You died? And who are you again?
British.
The British, okay, so the British died,
This
alright.
guy, I want to know what he says.
And then,
It was good leadership that helped us win one of the major battles.
Beautiful.
and then lastly, we have the French.
My team and I made a very great decision of them having hope and winning.
Perfect.
Okay, friends, across from back.
Who does this? Who does this?
Thank you. It's okay, that doesn't make much of a difference.
I don't want to frame
Whose
whatever
desk is that?
organization it might be.
There's no
No,
organization.
we didn't put that there.
Alright guys,
You.
You want us to put the phone back so you have it?
you guys? So,
If they could just flip their.
Guys, can you just flip your desks around and be set up? And this is a really important part of the lesson for Mr. Dorita. Can you move back over to your spots? Guys who were there, where were you? Where were you? You're here, right? Go sit at that. That your desk?
I took a chair.
Alright guys, first I just have to say you guys did all fantastic with this. Very shocked about supporting you guys were, but before we continue talking about the American Revolution, I just wanted to direct your attention to this little clip about Rocky. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. Alright, so just so you guys know, this is Rocky talking to his son about the influence and the importance of grit when it comes to boxing, but just keep in mind what you guys just witnessed with the American Revolution while listening to this video.
I think you might need to see the volume thing. Is it up?
Yeah, it looks good.
That looks good. And on the computer, is the volume up?
Let me tell you something you already know. The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are, it will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. Now, if you know what you're worth, then go out and get what you're worth. But you got to be willing to take the hits. And not pointing fingers saying you ain't where you want to be because of him or her or anybody. Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that. I'm always going to love you no matter what.
Alright guys, so just with that quick video talking about the importance of just keeping your head up high during difficult challenges in your life, I just want you to take a second to reflect on what of those 3 events you guys just took part and witnessed, which 3 of those events were probably, in your opinion, the most influential to the American Revolution in terms of the hope and grit. I just want to let everyone just for a second think about it, and then we're going to all talk about who thinks which event is the most important. So we'll just take a few seconds and then we'll have some ideas. All right. Of the importance hope and grit played in those events. All right. So can I just have any volunteers for you guys?
About Valley Forge, even though it was cold and they couldn't handle it, they still stayed and wanted freedom.
Okay. And what do you think was important about Valley Forge that kept that hope for them?
That they were about to win.
Exactly. Okay. And then what about the British? Did that play any kind of role in that?
No.
In your opinion, no? It's all about the Americans' hope, right? And what they want to do. Okay, perfect. So we have Valley Forge as one, and then
The battle was Saratoga because when the British won, I mean not the British stuff, the Americans won. They thought they had hope because they finally won a war and they felt like they could do anything.
like it gave them enough confidence, right? Because they beat this huge empire.
Because the British at that point were at the strongest army.
Which item of the 3 items was that creates hope? Based on what he said. What 3 things create hope?
Passion.
No, that's you. You keep saying grit, hope.
Hope would be not giving up.
That's persistence.
Where there's a way, there's a will.
What?
Where there's a way, there's a will.
Way in the will, that's good. But what 3 things, yeah?
You have to have the perseverance. You
No.
also have to have the way.
Okay, remember the first day when Mrs. Espinal read the book? Success. And the other thing are people who encourage you. Okay, you can go back. So which was it? And you, Mr. Dorita, you take the answer. Which do you think it was? He was talking about Saratoga.
Oh,
Why would that make hope Saratoga?
because they had success in British.
And what did that success bring to the Americans too? I mean, they beat the British, which is important.
Give them strength and confidence.
Okay, exactly. Gave them more confidence. And anything else that the
French helped them.
yeah. So
They agreed to start fighting with the Americans.
exactly. And why would that be important for the Americans' hope and feeling grit? Why would that be important for them during that time?
Because they would have more
Well, they have more support and confidence.
Exactly. So maybe if they had enough confidence beforehand with the French, like what else can they do? You know, that kind of idea maybe. All right. So we have the Valley Forge and we have Battle of Saratoga. All right,
The one, the Give Me Liberty Give Me Death, the one, I forgot his name, but the one that he said that he's gonna write his name in bold, like big, because he's a man in his word and nobody's gonna write.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So what does that mean if he's going to write his name really bold to the British Empire? Why is that important, just in general?
Because, he's,
I can come back to you.
Because what some people would do, they would write their name really small. So if like the people who wrote down that paper, the British when they trapped the people who wrote it, they couldn't read the signature, so they didn't know who wrote it. So John Hancock just said, "All right, it's so big that the king could see it, because I don't care like if I die or not."
Exactly. So he wanted the British to see it, right? It was intentional. He wanted to make sure that it wouldn't be one of those names he didn't see. That's exactly right. And with the "Give Me Liberty, Give Me Death," what does that play a role in with the Americans? Why is that important, Jeffrey?
Because that means that they were willing to die for the freedom of their country.
Exactly. So what does that sound like to you guys? When you hear willing to die for the freedoms, that's a pretty intense statement. So what does that mean to you guys?
I think if you want to the country to be free now, like just kill yourself or kill the country by yourself.
Okay, exactly. So be free, right? Okay. And then, all right. So we talked about each one of these events. Which one do you guys think is the most important? Though I know we kind of just summarized a little bit, but what's the most important for you guys? Jeffrey?
I would think either the Declaration or Valley Forge, but mostly Valley Forge, because they showed that even in worse conditions and terrible weather, there's still a light going through the dark.
Okay, perfect. So the light going through the dark. And you have another idea?
Of the Battle of Saratoga, they won because they won the war. They have more confidence and hope and grit that they could win again.
Okay, so we had the harshest conditions and then kind of the confidence building from the battle, right? And then just reset.
The Battle of Valley Forge, because they had so much hope and grit that they could win it, and if they kept believing no matter what, they could win, and then they did win. So in the end, it's basically both of them were both meant to be like more important, but they're basically mostly even in both.
Okay, exactly.
Can I just add to this? So you might not know this, but George Washington, and who was our George Washington? You were terrific. He almost quit during this time because they had promised him elaborations. They promised him soldiers. They promised him guns. He had nothing. He wrote a letter to Martha, his wife, and said, "I don't know if I could do this." Like his hope was really tested, but he didn't quit.
So that being said, actually, if George Washington, the ruler of the revolutionaries, was just about to quit, but he didn't, what does that tell you about the hope and grit of somebody? Do you think you could lose that, or do you think George Washington lost that, and if he did he get that back?
Yeah, he got it back because he knew that if he was to believe in how brilliant he really was, he knew that he could overtake his fear of losing.
Okay, so believing in yourself is more important than the fear of losing. Okay, so believing in oneself. What about anything else? Does maybe the troops play a role in that?
I got if he thought he was going to not do it, but like if he tried it, he would do it. Like he would pass. If he not, he would lose. So you have 50-50.
So kind of like if you don't even try it, you might not win at all.
Yeah, if you try, you might win.
so it's worth trying. It's worth giving your all, right? Okay, perfect. And just with that, does the troops that he's with, let's say if the troops are coughing and they have no shoes and they're hungry, they want to go home too. And George Washington also kind of wants to go home, but he doesn't. He stays through. Do you think that the people around George Washington, or the people around other people just in general, are able to inspire more hope or more grit into somebody, especially if that person is losing that?
Inspire them more grit and hope because of George Washington. They're like looking up to him as a role model. So like he still has hope and grit. They'll follow him even though there's still like bad weather.
Exactly. He's a whole creator in that kind of sense. That whole environment, the whole team.
Mr. DeRita, I just want to say one thing, that sometimes when you're a teacher, like when I was first teaching, or you as a practice teacher, or even you as a principal, your hope can be tested. Like you might have a day that says, am I in the right job here? And I know when I first taught, one day I'd feel real good, and the next day my hope was tested. So most teachers leave within 5 years because they need grit, like a passion to do it, so they can go through the times when you guys are a little wacky. You know, when you're a little wacky, you're testing her hope.
So that being said, because I know I've definitely had my hope tested this semester, this time of it in school, let me tell you, but I want to know, do you guys ever have your hope tested or your grit tested where you kind of just want to give up and you just want to let go of everything? Does anyone have that, or a show of hands, maybe? All right, so it looks like everyone's pretty much, a lot of people at least have had their hope tested and their grit tested. But the question is did that stop you from getting past that issue? Yes, sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's okay. Sometimes.
Can anyone tell us a story about how they got past, like they failed the math test? Tell us the Dorito like about your time.
Yeah, so let's start first with what got you through it.
So one time there was a soccer game and we were getting annihilated, like 6-1, and then out of nowhere we started like trying harder and harder, and we ended up tying the game like 7-7.
So you brought it back out of nowhere, right? And did anyone help bring that spirit back, or?
Yeah, it was my best friend, and he was the one who scored almost all the goals.
Okay, so seeing him kind of get past that issue got the entire team back? Okay. And does anyone else have any examples?
Last year's finals was like, it was like 25% of your grade, and so if you failed, like, let's say I had an 80, and then I could have failed that class.
Okay, so you were able to get past the grade though, right? Okay.
How'd you do it?
Cause like, I'm an older brother, and he like has good grades and stuff, and was like a role model for me. So I'm thinking of like just like trying to
So your older brother created your hope.
overpass him.
Okay, so you had sort of a role model to look up to too, right? When times got hard, you had a strong leader, a strong figure to cling on
Just
to.
the only thing
Listen,
that I see.
I kind of wanted you to see this because Angela Duckworth is the leader of Grid. This is her favorite guy. Anyone know this guy? Yeah. Who's this? What's his name? Anybody know his name? Will Smith, right? But what kind of gets you, the reason I asked you what got through it, he's going to talk about his life and his talent, and I think it really is good for Grid. If I can get it.
That I see that is distinctly different about me is I'm not afraid to die on a treadmill. Right? I will run. You will not be outworked. I will not be outworked. Period. You know, you might have more talent than me. You might be smarter than me. You might be sexier than me. You might be all of those things. You got it on me in 9 categories. But if we get on the treadmill together, right, there's 2 things. You're getting on first, or I'm going to die. It's really that simple.
Oh, this was the other one we did yesterday. I just wanted to ask you guys, what do you think that has to do with grit? Go ahead, Chris, you do.
Thank
Is he gritty?
He's basically saying that he won't give up even if it means he's dying.
Okay, so that's important, right? And not only that, but he's kind of going against somebody too, right? So
He's competitive.
competing, exactly. So is competition important sometimes? Yeah.
But I think what you're also hearing is he's so passionate. He wants to succeed so much. You know, I've heard him talk a lot, and he'll say, I don't have a lot of natural talent, but I got where I am because I'm willing to work. And that relates to you how? What does that have to do with you?
Because right now we learn about hope movement and revolutionary of America.
Okay, exactly.
But beyond that, what are we hoping?
We're hoping
Great. Okay, no problem. All right, so anyone else?
You guys are hoping that we might accomplish the goals that are spoken of.
Exactly. All right, and right.
I got something. If you think you're best in me, like one something, that's if you think you're best in everything, but in one thing, something tell you, only one thing can tell you.
And what is that one thing?
I don't know, but if you think if you're better in everything, and you think I'm not better, so one day if me and you comparing each other, one thing I can could tell you.
Exactly. And so there's always something that you kind of want to prove yourself with, right? Push yourself through. Okay, so that's definitely important with just in general, with having the grit coming through with a person in any situation, not just with the American Revolution. Exactly.
There's a TV show that I watch. It's really not for. It's really not for me that I should watch, but I watched it. So what happened is there was a show where it was about hope, and then the sister said that hope is something. She was supposed to write a quote about what hope is, and then she wrote it. She said that hope is something that gives her up, lifts her up in the night, even though she knows that she's gonna get picked on and bullied on, even though she still gets up and works hard, even though there's no one who's gonna get up and punch her.
Okay, so that's actually a really important point with the hope in somebody. Is it could be, and we talked about it with the American Revolution, right? It's tested between the troops and the American people. But just like with the troops, everybody here has that kind of grit inside them. And if you need support, sometimes you have a strong leader, as we had with George Washington, to push you through. But sometimes you also have yourself, right? With the competition, sometimes will be the one that drives you, or just wanting to be as good or strive to be like your brother, for instance. All right, so with that being said, what do you guys think is the most important out of the two, with grit or hope? Do you guys have a show of hands for who thinks hope's more important to somebody?
Only one.
Oh, grit?
Hope. Who thinks hope's more important? All right, so we have a few. Not too many though. And then what about grit then?
Can I just tell you why, so I fight with the grit guys? You won't have grit if you don't have hope. Like, if you don't believe you can do it, then you won't have that perseverance. And I'm gonna all want to argue back with me.
That's what grit is for.
Okay. Now let's hear from like that.
Well, I was thinking without hope you have grit, but also without grit you have hope.
You got me. That's excellent. If you don't have grit, you can lose your hope. If you don't, yeah.
With the grit, it's like pursuing to do something. Hope is like the passion you have. Like grit, it'll help you push on through rough times.
You know, you guys have really made my day, and really you got the secret. This is not about the American Revolution. It's really about you. And the reason we chose to, like, I know you could do the American Revolution, these are the causes, these are the results, But what we're trying to do is put you into the curriculum. You're no different than the soldiers at Valley Forge, especially when she gives a really hard test where it's 25% of your grade. You're gonna feel like, I'm at Valley Forge. Can you persevere like Will Smith and really work hard? And if you do, you'll be successful. Any final thoughts? I know.
I am so impressed, guys. You really have done such a wonderful job. Those skits were great. I really like the personality that you put into each of them. So, very nice job. And just so you all know, as of right now, you're all doing very, very well on this test.
And then just as a last thing for me to say, guys, I know I haven't been able to be with you guys for the entire time, but you guys showed me that you have a great understanding, not only of the American Revolution, but what brings people to pass difficult hardships in their life, challenges and difficulties that sometimes people can't face. You guys did a fantastic job with that with those skits, and I just have to say thank you guys very much for the
Can you give an
opportunity.
answer? Okay, think about that.
Line up, please, gentlemen. I think you get to this time. That's the sheet.
And I told them, sometimes they carry salad or you just have to so I said, tomorrow they start.
Do I have a big tab?
We need practice. The first thing I said was I can find the story of
I know it's not the whole time situation, but I appreciate letting you.
because they don't want to die.
They really are wrong.
And I'm gonna get this is what I say this
Take
is.
some time.
And I do.
It really looked like fun. I wish I had more time.
That's what I said. I said passion is the most important thing.
Like getting up and moving around a little bit. That's all. I appreciate it.
Yeah. But that's like everybody was smiling. You know what?
It was great. Awesome. Awesome class.
Thanks.
As a teacher, I hope that you inspire. The one thing in that group of businesses have a lot of especially right? So it didn't surprise me with some of the comments. But to see them smile and laugh when I have
That's awesome.
that's really cool.
Especially for students that might need it.
Yeah, it's a don't. So that's teaching. It's an awesome job.
Yeah, I'm definitely glad at least I'll be able to take time.
Yeah. Well, bring it alive.
Yeah, and you get a little excited about something new and stuff, so
Yeah, no, it was great.
I definitely appreciate it.
You spoke very, very well. You spoke very well. Expanding on their response was really nice. Kept their attention really well.
I have to very sure it's just keep it.
Especially coming in like
In
a
the
little
main.
bit off. A little bit off.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Yes, this is my off, and then I have 8th grade coming in 10th grade.
And
So
then,
we're gonna do some food.
do you want to?
Yeah, would you?
Yeah, is there paper towel or anything? Or bathroom?
I think we're out of paper towel in here. I think we have napkins.
Go downstairs, there's a bathroom, men's faculty, and just get some towels.
Okay.
Did we drop something?
Somebody spilled the water.
Oh, okay.
All right, they had an open one. You know, it's funny, they're kind of, the other guys, they're into it, they're feisty, they did it for a year. These guys, I really had my doubts before it began, that they won't speak, that, you know, like there's 3 or 4 kids who kind of run the show, and other people don't have a voice. But I think almost every kid in the skit was really involved.
Yeah, I think so. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
This is terrible, but I have to run.
Oh, no, go. Oh, I.
I just realized I have an eye
I'm
back
gonna go.
Did I do it again?
No, if this is yours, I'm just gonna go and dump this down the sink so that we don't have water all over.
Sorry.
Well, see you very soon.
Don't worry about it.
What?